Uh, on paper where the story's told, facts and truth, the legend grows. Lionheart's here with fire to spit. It's on paper with Anthony Smith.
With Anthony Smith. Welcome back to another edition of On Paper. I'm Kelly Murphy. More importantly, that is my co-host, UFC light heavyweight, and the ultimate girl dad himself, Anthony Lionheart Smith. Anthony, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Much clearer now.
Yeah, look at that. We got rid of that busted ass camera you had going on.
Y'all bullied me.
Yeah.
Here. Wasn't my
Like,
choice.
I was like, man, maybe we should get you another camera because they're mad about it. Now we just got to get you a background.
Well, listen, I'm at my parents until I move into my new place. So I'm not trying to change up the real estate here. When I move into my new place, we can change the background.
All right, what are you going to put on it?
I don't know. I do have a big LeBron James jersey framed. But I do think
that's what we're going with? Is a LeBron jersey?
It's really nice. It's autographed. And it's a Miami Heat jersey, so the haters going to be real mad.
That's the most ridiculous thing in the world. Okay. All right, we're going LeBron jersey. Okay.
Well, what am I supposed to? I don't have a logo that I could put behind me like you.
Let's put a big picture of my face, like the logo we got up here at the top corner.
Exactly.
No? Is that weird?
Yeah. I have a couple of Lionheart stickers.
Yeah, just put one sticker.
Am I going to stick them on my new wall?
Yeah. Why not?
I don't know about all that.
Okay.
I don't know about all that.
How's the weather in New York?
Freezing.
It's rainy here and cold as shit.
I mean, you live in Nebraska.
I know. We're in a blizzard warning
that
too.
For 10 months of the year. A blizzard warning.
We're in a blizzard warning, which really sucks because that means it's going to freeze. And it's been raining all day, which means the whole city is going to be a big ice skating rink. My 7-year-old just called me. They must have let them out of school like 2 minutes early. And my wife wasn't quite there yet. So she was like FaceTiming from her phone, but running, and the wind was blowing her hair everywhere. And she said, "Where are you at? I'm getting hard things are hitting my face." It was like the rain being blown in her face.
Oh, the hail.
Yeah, it could be hail. Yeah, who knows what's going on out there right now. Yeah, it's nuts.
We have a stretch of, it's actually not freezing here. We're getting a stretch of high 40s, low 50s. But I think we're out of the snow situation.
No, they're probably not going to school tomorrow or Thursday. We got state wrestling coming up this weekend, though.
Okay. How are we looking?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. It's big brackets.
Don't sound too confident now.
No, I mean, I feel she could win the whole thing, but it's just a lot of really tough girls. But our club took 40 to districts over the weekend, and we got 33 through to state next weekend. So it's going to be a busy weekend. And then there's like the duels the next day too. She's on the duel team. So yeah, we're going to get a bunch of snow, and then I got to drive like 3 hours. So that's great.
All right. Well, you know where there'll be absolutely no snow?
Where?
Las Vegas, Nevada, UFC 313 going down.
Oh my gosh, there's no snow there.
And hopefully there won't be a lot of wrestling in the main event if we're lucky.
Yeah, let's hope not, but I don't suspect that's going to happen. I really don't.
Okay, so let's get into it. Well, let's jump right to the main event. It's going down in your division for not much longer. Right. Retirement fight coming up in about a month and a half, but Magomed Ankalaev will challenge Alex Pereira, and it feels inevitable that Magomed Ankalaev was going to be in a title fight, but I think the UFC was extremely reluctant to put him there. They got lucky with his back-to-back draw with Jan Blachowicz and then the no contest with Johnny Walker. They kind of had built-in excuses to slot anybody else in there because he's not the most exciting guy. Obviously, RJ Clifford always uses the phrase, doesn't have the right passport, not extremely relatable to the fans, but here we are. So I'm just going to ask you off the bat, on paper, is Magomed Ankalaev the toughest opponent that Alex Pereira has had thus far in his title reign?
No, I don't think so. I think Israel Adesanya is a stylistic nightmare for Alex Pereira.
Well,
I think
at 205, I mean.
At 205, no, okay. I don't think so. He has a different set of skill sets, or he has a different skill set compared to the other guys, but he doesn't really use it. You know, he's not a double double leg, single leg guy. He only really shot in the Jan Blachowicz fight because he had no legs left, which would give you pause and worry if you're in his corner. You know, Jan Blachowicz has always had good leg kicks. I think defensively, he does better with leg kicks defensively. Even if you go back to the fight with Jan Blachowicz and Pereira, he didn't really get his legs compromised very badly, and that's of course that's Alex's thing. But he says he's not going to wrestle. I have no reason to not believe him. You know, he says that he thinks he can strike with him. So if we're looking at this as just a purely striking fight, I think that a guy like Khalil Rountree is a more difficult challenge for Pereira. And let me explain to you guys why. Because here we go. Here comes the people saying I'm fucking crazy.
I love it.
Magomed Ankalaev is basic. He's a very simple fighter. And I don't mean that that's not meaning he's not very good. That's not me saying that he's not extremely effective. He's very, very effective at what he does. But he's very basic. It's 1s and 2s and 3s. The occasional front kick up the middle, the occasional head kick. But for the most part, it's jabs, hooks, and crosses. And he's very fundamentally sound. He's hard to get to because his hands are always in the right spot. He's never really out of position. He really does do everything right. But he's predictable because he's not going to get too far outside of his box. He's not going to get too creative. He's not going to be switching stances back and forth. His footwork is very fundamentally sound and very basic. There's no trickery in his game for the most part. He makes really good reads. You know, he'll throw a jab, you'll parry it. He'll throw another jab and you'll slip it. You do a couple of those things back to back, now he's going to start playing that game where he'll fake the jab, come with the hook because your hand is coming down to parry. Like, he's very, very fundamentally sound. He was very, very, very well coached. But those things are very comfortable for Alex Pereira. That's the world that he came from. He spent his entire life professionally in combat sports dealing with guys like Magomed Ankalaev. He spent his whole career before he got here, for the most part, beating all of those guys. And of course, he took losses here and there, but generally, he spent his whole career beating guys just like Magomed Ankalaev. If Ankalaev doesn't wrestle and doesn't, or at least give the illusion or threaten or make Pereira think for a second that he's going to shoot, I think Alex is going to have a very comfortable fight. He's going to be very safe and very comfortable in those situations because that's where he lives and breathes. It's where he's the most at home. So I think a guy like Khalil Rountree, who's a little more unpredictable, a little more explosive, more willing to get into firefights and throw caution to the wind at times. He will switch stances. He's come out in different styles before where he's been very leg kick heavy. There's been other times where he's a little bit more Muay Thai stance. Sometimes he'll give up distance and give up range and back himself to the fence like he did with me. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes like when he fought Pereira, he was very, at the very beginning of that fight, he came forward a lot more than he typically does. He's unpredictable. Those guys are really hard to deal with when you don't know what they're bringing to the table or what style they're going to fight. If you go back to kind of the Jan Blachowicz fight, Jan Blachowicz is very basic. It's fundamentally sound, striking, defensively, very responsible. Not a bunch of crazy footwork, but slight subtleties that make a big difference. And Pereira, a lot of people think that Alex lost that fight because of the first round with the takedown and all that stuff. But
sure.
And I thought it was very close. I did think Blachowicz won that fight. But if you look at how comfortable Alex was in that fight the entire time, he was never really in danger other than the threat of the takedown. He felt pretty safe. They were also at altitude. I just think that these fights are where guys like Alex Pereira they're just going to thrive because he's going to be so comfortable.
Well, the Jan Blachowicz fight answered a lot of questions for me when it comes to Alex Pereira, like how he would handle situations of uncomfortability. Because given the amazing kickboxing background that he has and his track record in the UFC, we know he's going to be comfortable standing across from anybody in the cage. He's a one-shot kind of guy, can take anybody out, and he pretty much does that to every single one of his opponents. Aside from Israel Adesanya, who they've had a great chess match in the times that they've fought. When you say you believe Ankalaev when he says that he's not going to wrestle for 25 minutes, I don't. A big part of me feels like he's just saying that to kind of play up the fight with the fans because he's another one of those guys that the fans find his fight style boring definitely not fan friendly. So it feels like he's trying to play up to the fans, because who in their right mind would stand across from Alex Pereira for a potential 25 minutes?
I'm not saying he can't.
Mhm.
I know exactly what you mean. You're right. If he chooses to, he could be very dominant in some of these positions. There's not a whole lot of situations that he's chosen to. Even in the fight with me, we're fairly even on the feet, and I'm the one who initiated the wrestling. He had his game's not really set up on his feet. His striking's not really set up to work in the blend of grappling. It's just not a lot. Some of it's desperation. He had to wrestle out of desperation with Jan Blachowicz because he didn't. And Jan Blachowicz has never been like a defensive monster in terms of wrestling. He's a good black belt, and defensively, once they're down there, he's fine. But he at times he struggled with wrestlers. We can go all the way back to Alexander Gustafsson getting like 7 takedowns on him. Gustafsson's never been known as a wrestler. So I think that fight was a little bit out of desperation. He grappled with Paul Craig, but that was because Paul Craig always initiates the grappling because Paul Craig's not standing with nobody.
Yeah.
He has no love Paul. He has no intention to even joke like he's going to strike. Everything he does is trying to get to a takedown. Exactly. So, but he's the one who wanted to do all the grappling and initiated all of that. Other than that, I'm not saying it's never happened, but I can't think of a whole bunch of times where he's initiated the grappling because I don't think his game is built to do that. The way that he strikes, he kind of stands on his back foot a little bit. When he does come forward, he doesn't have a real low, knees bent type of stance. He doesn't throw lots of big overhands that he can hide and make it look like it's an overhand and then it's a takedown. It's just not really set up for that. I'm not saying he can't. I think that if he does wrestle, it's going to have to be in the clinch up against the fence and drag him down because he's just not built. His game isn't built like that. I think if they were to like take their gloves off and shake hands in the middle of the octagon and then start wrestling, he absolutely smokes Pereira. Absolutely. Wouldn't even be competitive. That's not what we're doing. So I think that Pereira does such a good job of managing range and distance that he never really lets people into a situation where there's a lot of wrestling going on. Even the Blachowicz fight, he kind of fell into it.
Try. Even if he doesn't get Pereira to the position because Pereira is so good at doing the things you just said, you don't even think he's going to try?
I don't think so. I don't think
Does that have to do with his ego? Because I know you've talked about ego 100%. When it comes to Magomed Ankalaev. Okay, expand on that because you've obviously stood across the cage from him. So
yeah, he's got a big ego. I'm not saying this as if ego is a bad thing. He believes in himself, and other than the Paul Craig fight, he has no reason not to. Right. So why would he change his game? People grow from failure. You're never going to grow as much from being super successful and things going your way every time as you are when things don't go your way. If I was to like be a betting man, I would just say that Ankalaev goes in and gets knocked out. They're in this crazy striking exchange a bunch of times. 3rd or 4th round, Ankalaev catches one and goes down and Pereira gets a finish. His whole game will be different when he comes back. He'll get back to wrestling. He'll get back to blending in his takedowns. He'll be more unpredictable. He'll fight a full 3 levels fight. But why would he do that now? Because everything he's been doing has worked. And people are not being super successful standing with him. So I believe him when he seems to be a guy of honor. He seems to be a guy that means what he says. He's not a real big marketing type of dude. I don't think he wants to be the guy that says one thing and then does another. He's too proud for that.
So that said, and we'll get to split decision a little bit later at the end of the show. Gilbert Burns conversation's got to be had.
Come on, Gil.
That was something last week. But if you honestly believe that Magomed Ankalaev is going to try and stand there with Alex Pereira for 25 minutes, how do you see this fight going down? Because it hasn't really worked out for anybody else.
I think it'll be competitive at first. The one thing, if I could pinpoint one thing that I've seen a difference in Pereira has been, it's taking him a bit longer to get reads on people than it used to. And I don't know if he's more patient and he's feeling more comfortable in there. And so he's just letting more time go before he really starts to put his foot on the gas. But even in the Khalil fight, it took him a minute to read Khalil, which makes a lot of sense for all the reasons I said before. He
Well, you've
couldn't
got to
really get a
remember too, for a lot of his time at 185, he was fighting Israel Adesanya, who he has a
right
kickboxing background with already.
for sure. But I go back, like the Strickland fight, you had to read on Strickland fast. You know, we can go back to every guy that he's knocked out, but it's just, and I think the Khalil fight's a little, like I was saying earlier, it's a little bit of an anomaly because Khalil is so, I've been in there with Khalil. He's kind of a motherfucker to get a read on. It took me a minute too. And, you know, ultimately it didn't matter because he clipped me, but it took me a little bit to get a beat on him and figure him out a little bit because he's very different. It just feels different. So I was actually everyone said, oh, Khalil pushed him really hard and Pereira, you know, struggled. Like I was actually really impressed. Like I know what it's like to have to deal with that dude. It's different. So I just think it's going to be competitive at times early until he gets a firm read on what he's looking at. You know, he read Yuri pretty quick. He read Jamahal pretty quick.
True.
I think that Yuri and Jamahal also have very awkward, weird styles. So I think it took him, they were read pretty quick and they have really awkward styles to look at in front of you. So I think he'll figure it out. Ankalaev is really good though. And I think that's the difference. If Ankalaev wasn't as good as he was and wasn't as effective as he was, I think that this would be I don't know. This would be different. But here's what I'm trying to say. His style is basic, simple, and predictable. So typically I think Pereira would figure it out really fast and get him out of there. But because Ankalaev is so effective, I think that's going to delay it because he's going to have to be safe. He can't just rush in. He can't just wade into danger. So it's going to be pretty competitive, I'd imagine, early. And you'll be able to see the switch in Pereira when he figures it out.
I hope that's the case because I think Pereira brought stability to 205 at a time when it really needed it. That title was ping-ponging.
It was everywhere.
Back and forth. I think like 5 guys held it.
That some bitch never came over here, though. Ain't that some shit? That shit never came my way.
That's a point.
God damn it.
That's a point. I mean, tides turned after the Ankalaev fight, that's for sure.
What the hell does that mean?
Well, that would have been your fight to fight for the title. And you had the injury, then you were out.
Okay, we're just roasting me today.
Well, last episode it was me.
Yeah,
you know how many people were like, that's mad funny. Like
I was pretty close right there with the Khalil thing too, though. I let that one slip through my fingers too.
That's true.
You remember when I was doing the chicken dance when my brain was awake but my legs didn't work? You remember that? Yeah.
Do you want me to answer honestly?
Yeah, I'd like you to lie and say no. I don't remember.
No, I don't remember that.
Thank you.
But again, who's to say you get a lot of people get title shots off of you. That's not. Maybe you don't get the title shot off.
I should get a fucking percentage.
100%. Because you know what? These guys that have all these crazy, wild cardio issues, for some reason, come to the fights with you, the best versions of themselves.
I know, it's crazy,
and it's so annoying.
Yeah, maybe I just make them look really good because I suck. That could be it.
Don't say that. You fought for a world title, so no.
Yeah, that guy beat me up too. God damn it.
He beats everybody up. Except Dominic Reyes and Thiago Santos. I thought he lost both those fights, but that's besides the point.
I thought there was a good chance he lost to Stipe too.
I was like, wait, no. Okay, I thought I was remembering. I was like, did I miss a Stipe fight?
No, it was bad joke.
All right, let's move on to the co-main. Justin Gaethje taking on Rafael Fiziev. Cat's out of the bag. News broke since our last episode that Dan Hooker was out of this co-main with a broken hand. A bunch of guys at 155 put their name in the hat to face Justin Gaethje, and we end up with Gaethje Fiziev too. I'd like to go on a little rant, if you'll indulge me, before I get your take on this fight.
Go ahead.
And for everyone who says like, oh, she's a girl, she's never fought, she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about, fast forward a minute or two, and then you can listen to Anthony break down the fight, because regardless of how big of a fan of Justin Gaethje you were before the news broke that he would be fighting Rafael Fiziev again, you should be a bigger fan today, because he is just such a gift to MMA in general. He was the first guy to fight one of the have-nots of the lightweight division. And by have-nots, I mean somebody that isn't Gaethje, Poirier, Chandler, or Oliveira. When he fought Rafael Fiziev for the first time, he beat him. He head kicked Dustin Poirier into another planet. And that's with all due respect, because I love Dustin Poirier and it could have gone the other way very easily. To earn a title shot, rather than sitting back and waiting to fight for the title, he took on Max Holloway, which is a thankless fight, because if he loses, and he lost pretty badly, it's a loss. And even if he wins, it's Max Holloway moving up a division. Everyone would just use that as the excuse, but takes on Max Holloway to put on a banger at UFC 300. And now he's looking to get back in the win column. I know he's at the back end of his career, but he's still looking to get himself in the title mix. Instead of taking on an easier fight, and I know those are few and far between at 155, regardless, 1 through 15, everybody's extremely talented. He takes on Rafael Fiziev for the second time, even though he's already beaten him once. And for those of you who don't remember, it was a pretty damn close fight. So not saying this is going to be easy just because he's already gone in there with him once and beat him. So being a bigger fan of Justin Gaethje today than you were before you found out that he was taking on this fight, because he's a fucking legend. And
he is.
That's my rant. So with all that said, Anthony, have you rewatched the fight, their first fight, since it happened?
Yeah, I watched the first round. It's
Okay.
been a busy day, so I wanted to watch the first round, and I forgot. I've always been a big fan of Rafael Fiziev. He's got such an interesting striking game. He's a super high level. He doesn't get nearly enough credit for as good as he is. I think he's a better striker than Gaethje is. And this is where I get into these weird arguments where the technically better guy isn't always the more effective guy.
Sure.
So like it depends on what you want to what you want to call as who's better. I think the cleaner, more technical, fundamentally sound striker is Rafael Fiziev.
I agree.
I think that once Gaethje kind of got on his jab a little bit later on in the fight and actually slowed himself down a little bit, and just because sometimes you got 10 things in your head. I got 10 things I really want to work, or I got 7 or 8 things I really want to work. Sometimes you got to delete some of those and bring it down to like 2 or 3. Once he simplified his game a little bit, he was more effective in that fight. I think he was more experienced at the highest level, and his championship experience that he had before he even came into the UFC, coupled with the UFC experience that he has now, is what got him ahead in that fight. But he was struggling with Rafael at times. He was He was faster at times. He was a better counterer at times, and he really had to figure that out real time. Like he had to make that adjustment in real life at game time speeds, which is really, really hard to do. And any fighter or combat sports person will tell you the exact same thing. At the highest level, the biggest differences are made in who can make the adjustments at fight speed. And Gaethje did a better job of that than Rafael did. I completely echo everything you said about him. If you just go through his record, it's just the who's who in that division. It's
if you want to be exact, he's never fought somebody in his UFC career ranked outside of the top 10 up until this weekend with Rafael, who's ranked 11th. So
that's crazy. Yeah, and it's the murderer's row of 155 pounders. And he really could have found ways to get an easier fight. That's not like, this isn't an enjoyable, easy fight for him. He already knows how hard this fight is, and he still chose to do it, which I think is admirable. But he could have convinced them to make the Poirier thing work, or he could have looked for an easier fight. Again, on paper would be an easier fight with Moicano and really push that. He's a different breed. He's a different breed of guy. I was really fortunate to be able to, I don't know, whenever I was in Denver 3 weeks ago or whatever it was, when Yusuf Zalal was getting ready and Cody was getting ready, and was able to watch him spar and move around. He's special. And I know we all really appreciate him now, but I think that we're going to appreciate Justin Gaethje a whole lot more when he's gone.
I know, which hopefully it's going to be sooner than I'd like it to be.
I know you were sad when I said that.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all. I thought you were going to cap it off that was a great way to cap it off, but for
Just
his
something
biggest
happier.
fan. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely sucks. But
Have you ever seen that? You ever seen that like tweet where it was like Gaethje in a fight or something? It's like a picture of it, and the girl commented and said, "I need a man like this." This was like years ago, and then Gaethje responded, but it like his profile picture, he's got glasses on and looks kind of nerdy, and said, "Hey," and she was like, she says something like,
does
"You're
he
not
like
what I'm like you're not what I'm looking for," and Gaethje says, "I'm the guy in the picture."
Yeah. That's an incredible meme.
Yeah,
That
it's
would be
great.
like me though. I'd be like, "Oh, I have to have this guy," and then he'd be like, "Hey," and I'd be like, "Not you,
No, not you. No, that guy.
that one."
Yeah, that's hilarious. No, I'm
That's
excited for that fight. Um, it's unfortunate that Rafael's coming in short notice.
sure.
Justin Gaethje's a hard guy to fight with full notice, completely prepared. I think it's a bit of an uphill battle without a legitimate camp.
But is it not obviously short notice is never ideal, but is it not
Mhm.
best case scenario with the guy you've already been in there for 15 minutes with?
Yeah, if you're gonna take one, it's definitely if you're gonna take a short notice fight, it doesn't hurt if it's a guy you've already fought and prepared for and have some familiarity with.
Real quick, because we are going to get to another UFC light heavyweight. Jamahal Hill is going to join us in just a couple minutes. What version of Justin Gaethje do you think we get here? Because the Justin Gaethje that fought Tony Ferguson and on is very different than the Justin Gaethje that fought Michael Johnson. Like, he used to be reckless, crazy.
I think
I'm
we're gonna
going
get
in
the Michael
there.
Johnson version.
I think so too, because he
Yeah.
said that he just did an interview this week, I think maybe with Kevin Iole or Brett Okamoto, and he said that changing his fight style didn't really help him, but because it feels like I thought it did. Obviously, it wasn't successful against Max Holloway, but it just felt like he was still that crazy, hard hitting, wild guy, but he was just a little bit smarter and picked his punches a little bit better, took 10% off and wasn't throwing 100% all the time. Part of me hopes we get the Michael Johnson version. That's my favorite UFC fight I've ever seen.
So I seen a couple clips and things from that fight, and I related to him a little bit. Again, I'm not comparing myself to Justin Gaethje. I'm trying to relate to his mindset. I think I think what he was meaning. What I was reading between the lines.
Mhm.
I think what he was meaning was, I think he sleeps better at night when he fights like that.
Like a madman.
Yeah, because I think he's being his true self. And I can relate to that. Like my fight style when I was younger, like when I fought Shogun or I fought, Ozdemir or even Gustafsson. Like the Gustafsson fight is probably closest to my true self. Um when I don't fight like that, I have to change my game to be a little safer, or I'm hiding something or protecting something or whatever. You just don't feel like you're being true to yourself. You just don't. You feel like you're being fake. And I know that sounds really crazy. But that's how it feels. Like it feels like you're hiding right in plain sight. Like feels as if you're lying to everybody. And so I think when he goes in there, sometimes I don't think that he cares. I don't
Mhm.
think that he cares so much about, of course he wants to win, but I think if you're going to fight in a way that makes you feel like you're not being your genuine self and then you lose, that could prompt you to go back to the way that makes you that the way that you sleep better at night, regardless of the result. If that makes any sense.
I hate that it does. I feel like I've been studying you fighters for far too long that it does make perfect sense to me. I hope that's the version we get. Listen, it's going to be
Because that's
guaranteed
who he
violence.
really is. That's who he really is. That's who he
Absolutely.
really is.
Well, that's even why, like, when
You
he
know what else
does
I
get
learned about
knocked
him?
out, you look at Trevor Whitman in the back and he's got a big smile on his
Yeah, he's
face
kind of like, yeah,
because
he's
he
living
knows
his best
Gaethje went
life
out there and did what he wanted to do.
for
Obviously,
sure.
not get knocked out, but have a
Yeah. He's
firework
he's
kind of
doing it his way. He's doing it his way.
exactly.
It was really cool watching him train, watching him spar and move around. He's got some of the best timing that I've ever seen from strikers. It was really, really impressive. I was so fascinated with his timing. He's a special guy. He's a special athlete.
I am absolutely pumped. Rounds 4, 5, and 6 go down this weekend, and it's going to be guaranteed violence. We saw the first time was a crazy one, and it almost always is when Justin Gaethje's in there. So I'm really looking forward to that. But before we get there, Jamahal Hill's about to join us, and I love listening to you guys talk. I could be a fly on the wall all day for that. So I am really pumped to bring him in here.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to Jamahal. We haven't been in person or been around each other since his fight. We keep up through text messages and chit chatting here and there, but obviously we're both slated to fight Kansas City, the UFC Fight Night in Kansas City. He's the main event. I am the co-main event. So that'll be fun. We're on the same schedule, and I think we're all just kind of getting rolling now. So I'm excited to have a chit chat with my old guy.
And now we bring in UFC light heavyweight contender Jamahal Hill. Jamahal, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, how you doing?
Fantastic.
Look at you. Look at you. Just doing all sorts of cool shit. Man, how you been?
Been good, brother. I've been good, Just enjoying life, brother. Life is good.
How have man, we haven't had too much time to catch up since the fight. We went back and forth in text messages a little bit, but how you feel? Just physically, mentally, everything overall after the fight?
I feel good. I still got some lingering things that I went into the fight with, that I'm trying to address those like fully right now.
Mm-hmm.
But mentally, I'm good, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm locked in. I'm just excited for growth. It's the biggest thing, bro. I win or I learn, So no matter what, I'm never the same fighter again. After any fight, after any practice, I just try to level up every time.
I said this after the fight. I think it was on here, but I thought that was one of your better performances. And I think that sometimes shit like that happens where you have a good performance, but a couple things go the wrong way and it doesn't end up being your night or whatever. But did you feel like that? Like I felt like you fought one of the more complete fights that I've seen you do in a long time.
For me, I kind of felt like, honestly, I felt like it was more like one of my worst, like just because of just the things that I was dealing with going into the fight. I didn't fully feel comfortable, in the fight. It's just that from being out for so long, just only haven't fought 3 minutes in the last 2 years leading up into that fight. So it was just like I felt like I could have been more locked in and been more on point.
Was there anything that he did that was different than kind of the things we went through and how you felt during training camp? Was there anything that was different?
Yeah, he didn't really root himself into the ground and plan himself to stay as stationary and as in hittable range as much. He moved his legs a lot more. He was a lot more in and out, and used his range a lot better. And then the pull, he was pulling and countering. His pull and his counter was something that was new to this fight as well.
I think that says a lot about you. That he deemed you as such a threat that he changed his whole fight style.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. He definitely gave me the respect and showed up a better version of himself. And you get excited for things like that just because now it's my turn.
Right. Well, think about. I guess if we're just talking about your journey and the things that have been going on. I think sometimes people forget like how hard this sport can be emotionally and mentally, and you win the title on short notice, you get hurt, you got to give it up, then you get to fight for it in this huge event, but maybe the circumstances weren't necessarily perfect leading into that. There's the weird debacle before he clips you, and then you go down, and then now you fight again, you got other things you're dealing with. Like, where are you at truly? Because I think what happens is people see you online and they get this one perspective of you. And I'm trying to be honest with you, I'm trying to humanize you a little bit and maybe show people that the person that I see all the time, like you kind of been through it a little bit.
Yeah, bro, I've definitely been dealing with some things, for the most part, I just try not to think about it too much, but it can affect you. It definitely can affect you. it wears on you. It can wear on your heart and wear on your mind sometimes, and even just like even self consciously. You know, it has been a lot, bro. It has been a lot, but in my mind, I was just telling myself like, hey, I'm still this guy. I just have to show up and be this guy and things, and just kind of made my own plans for how I wanted things to go. You know, and I guess God, this is God's way of showing me that He has His own plan for me. You know, like I said, a thing that's been playing in my mind a lot is I was told when I was younger, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him what you have planned. And I feel like I kind of been feeling that lately. Because
Yeah.
in my mind, it was just, all right, I'm going to get back in. It's going to be just like it was and everything like that. All I got to do is just get back in there and everything's going to be like it was. And that's not the case. So I got to make my adjustments and deal with where I am.
What are some of the positives you felt like you took from that? Because I think I'll give you mine, and then I want to hear yours. I felt like you grew a lot in training camp, and I know you say you weren't necessarily super comfortable, but you've typically never you up until this point, like you're not always like you want to be super comfortable. But I felt like all of training camp, you were putting yourself in some uncomfortable situations and doing things a little bit different, and you were just a little more open than you've been in the past, and you've always been super coachable. But I felt like there was a big growth there of just kind of opening up your vision a little bit. What did you feel? Because there's always a positive, like you said, you win or you learn. What are some of the positives you learned?
Uh, just being more with it, being more professional, understanding that now I'm at a level to where I can't fuck around, bro. I can't fuck around. I don't the window for margin is very very small now. These guys are good. There are a lot of good guys that are coming, and the game is changing. So I have to be more on point with my game and with myself and with my training, my preparation and things. You know, because before, you know, I like before I was smoking, you know, just was eating what I wanted to eat, you know, and then I show up and the fight goes well for me and things like that. Now it's just being more professional.
It's like a victim of your own success a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
All right, so now obviously you and I got stuck on the same card together in Kansas City, which I think is super dope.
It's
Um,
dope.
yeah, it makes it easy for us to just stay on the same schedule. But
Hell
um,
yeah.
that Khalil thing was already something that was supposed to happen, and then he had some weird things go on, and then he gets a title shot, and I know that's one that you've talked about before. Were you pumped to hear that name?
Yeah, what's what I asked for? They just gave me what I asked for, you know, and I gotta be appreciative of that because that's it's been kind of the case with the UFC recently. Is I asked for something and they've given it to me. You know what I mean? I asked for Yuri, they gave me Yuri. I asked for Alex, they gave me Alex. You know, so it's just been like they've given me control of of my career. You know, in that sense,
What do
I
you
worked
what do
with.
you like about that fight so much? Because I'm gonna be honest with you,
Um,
I didn't like a lot of it when I
yeah,
fought him.
yeah. Well, you fought him on short notice. I think with a full camp, I think that fight goes differently.
Yeah,
For
me
sure.
too.
But I just feel like I feel like he's a. What I like about the matchup is he's a popular name right now. So a lot of people are big on him. He's put on some exciting fights. He's an exciting fighter. He comes to bang and I just think that my skill set and what I do very very well are things that he's not. You know what I mean? He's not ready for. You know, I don't think he does the things that I do well. I don't think he does them as well as I do. I think my game is really, really, really wide open in this fight.
Yeah, he's predictable too. You don't got to worry
Yeah.
too much about him shooting takedowns and getting into clinch situations, and you can kind of just set your feet and go and be a sniper.
And he's explosive. He's explosive. He hits hard. He believes in his abilities to finish. And I believe all those are things that I'll be able to turn against him.
So you go in and everything goes your way, and you get back on track, and you get that we get things turned around in the right direction again. Um,
Right.
is I mean, are you still? I know you definitely want to get back to the title. I know that. But is
Yeah.
that still what's like at the forefront of your brain, or are you breaking it down more micro than that and just focused on the next evolution, the next technique, the next growth?
Yeah, yeah, it's that. Well, like I think with the whole thing that's happened over the last year, I kind of got caught up a lot with that and a lot of things and like the noise of just like the spotlight and things like that. Nah, with this last fight, in that last fight, even though it went the way I had fun. Like I really
You
had
look like
fun in
it.
this fight, and I enjoyed the fight. I had a blast. I felt blessed to be in my position in that fight. So yeah, bro. I just got to keep enjoying it. Like, try not to lose that joy again. Cause with the injury, then with how the fight went against Alex with the whole, what I mean, how I felt it was. I mean, things that got interrupted and things like that, and then the whole bullshit online and all of that other stuff. You kind of get away from like the true beauty and the enjoyment of the sport and what we do, and I don't want to lose that again. I want to make sure I
Did
keep
you
that.
did you struggle with some of the changes that came with being a champion and the lifestyle change, the being more noticed, being I don't know, more in the spotlight and having more eyes on you and maybe having a target on your back and not being the one that's doing the chasing? Was there an adjustment there or something you struggled with?
There was so like after I won the title with how I won the title and things like that, just like how dominant I felt at the time, I kind of got a little ahead of my it was like, well, now what? It was almost like I don't know, bro. It's hard to explain. Like almost like not I don't want to say a loss of joy, but maybe just like a loss of excitement for it. And in that, I don't know, like I'm refocused now. I'm refocused. I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for what happened. Well, what's going to happen. New challenges, new faces, and new things like that. You
But there
know,
was definitely a difference.
it was definitely a difference. Yeah, there was definitely a difference. It was just like, and a lot of it was because of how fast it happened.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I feel, yeah, I feel a lot of it was the fact of how fast it happened. So
Does the
now it's
attention
just
bother you?
no,
See, I always feel
no,
like I felt like I don't know, just from the time we met till now, you to me you're the same person and nothing has changed. But I felt
uh,
like you over time you became less what's the word I'm looking for here? Less tolerant of the bullshit
yeah.
as maybe more of it came.
Yeah, and then like whenever you
Trying to
want your
fight
respect,
motherfuckers for
especially
25 grand in the gym and
you know
shit.
what I'm saying. You want your
Yeah.
respect, bro. You know what I mean. You want your
Yeah.
respect. You would like for the blood and sweat and everything that you put into this to be appreciated, and you know what I mean, and the people to show appreciation for it. And I don't feel like I don't feel like I was getting that. You know what I mean. I didn't feel like I was getting that at all. Like from the how I was just thrown into the fire. You know what I mean. I was thrown into the fire from the time I walked in. You know, the guys that I was fighting, my first fight, that dude had more than twice as many fights as I did. Fuck fights. He had twice as many wins as I had fights.
Right.
I'd say that was how it was for the first shit, everybody I'd say everybody up until like about Alex. Up until
Yeah.
Alex had twice as many wins as I had fights. You know what I
That's
mean?
crazy.
And you know what I'm saying? And like I felt like in that there should have been some appreciation for how I, you know what I mean, for how I stepped up, came prepared, and put on the show for in those instances. And it just wasn't there. It just I didn't, you know what I mean? It was from some, but it was a lot of, just like we talked about before, sometimes you pay attention more to the negative than you do the positive.
For
And
sure.
I've gotten better. I've gotten better at that. But it's just like the OSP, like even like OSP was like coming off of knocking out like Alonzo Manifield, who was on a streak at the time. I went in, did what I did against him. The Paul Craig fight, I rebooked that fight and pushed through having COVID. Like I had COVID. Remember, I was coughing up blood,
Mm-hmm.
things like that, all the things that I dealt with that, and to get to that fight and for to have that go how it went, I felt like what I mean I handled that well. I acknowledge I know what I did wrong in that, and I showed that I made an adjustment because I went from that to the title. You know what I mean? To beating Jimmy Crute, to beating Johnny Walker the way I did, Santos, and then Glover. These are all guys that I've been watching since before I went pro. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just like just always it was like always just a way to like kind of I don't know just discredit me,
For
you
sure.
know. So it was it did take a little bit of a tolerance and joy from not joy because I've enjoyed my journey, but a little bit of the tolerance that you speak of.
Right. All right, man. Well, I don't want to hold you up too much. I know you got, PT and strength conditioning and practice and all that stuff. You got for those just watching or listening, Jamal's got two of my cronies, my main guys from here in Omaha that are in Vegas with them right now. So I hear things are going good there with you guys. Other than that, man, what else you got other than training and getting your PT stuff in and strength and conditioning, all that stuff? What do you got going on? You're just enjoying the weather in Vegas?
Yeah, just enjoying the weather in Vegas. I'm gonna head back to Michigan. We actually finally releasing my strand. You know, I've been growing. I've been working on my cannabis strand for like the last like few years. We got released for that next week. It'll be available for people to go and get it in dispensaries and everything. The Sweet Dreams Knockout is the name of the brand. So,
Sweet Dreams Knockout?
excited about that, Sweet Dream Knockout. It's that it blow good, boy. Blow real good. Blow real good. Tastes a real good. Tastes a real good. Hits your head real good. Yeah.
Is that only gonna be available in Michigan?
We gonna work on getting it available everywhere. It's gonna start out in Michigan, and then, hopefully we get it international. And then, it's always excited to like grow a business. I got into this to build wealth, build generational wealth, and things like that. So, with fighting, I've made quite a bit of money from this, and then now it's just time to continue that in the other ventures till I can take care of and have other things to look forward to whenever I'm done, whenever eventually when I hang up the gloves up.
Man, I don't smoke weed or anything because I get, your guy gets real
Paranoid.
weird. I get real weird.
Don't
we
get
we
weird on.
we no, maybe we do like a Lionheart edible or something though.
Oh
See?
yeah, that
Now
wouldn't
we're
be that actually
thinking.
be good,
Now we're thinking. All right,
especially
dog.
with your logo. That look good on the package.
Wouldn't
Pause.
it?
That sounded
Oh,
kind of crazy. Pause. If that sounded crazy at all, you know.
oh man. All right, dude. Well, you get to get to practice. And
Yes,
then
sir.
shit, I'll be seeing you soon. We'll go
Oh yeah, we can send each
go
other. We're
get
gonna
this
get some
camp in
work in. Yes,
for
sir.
sure. All right, man. You take care of yourself.
All right. Always love, bro.
Anthony, every time I see anything of you and Jamal, and I think I've told this story on this podcast before, so I'm already repeating myself 8 episodes in. I think of the time when we were all at Legends in New York City doing the Sirius XM show. You
Yeah.
two were booked to fight. Nobody knew. Him and I was with him and a couple of his friends. We were like taking shots, like laughing. And I was laughing so hard at one of his jokes. And then my inner self reminded me that he was fighting you. And I was like, I immediately stopped laughing and was like,
It
you're my
was so
op. You're
it
my
was
op right
so
now.
weird, like having to like we're hanging out. We knew we were fighting each other.
Mhm.
He came to do this Sirius XM interview for me, and everyone was like, "Man, what do you guys got coming up?" We're like, "Man, we don't know. Just waiting on the matchmakers." But we had already signed it, like it was already booked and ready to roll. That was I mean, that was if that doesn't tell you like how cool of a dude Jamal is. Everyone's always like, he's this thug dude who just doesn't give a shit about anything. He's always been real good to me. He's always had a lot of respect for me and shown it. He's always shown a lot of respect just for my journey and my career. And he's a good dude. He really is.
I also think it's easy to clown on people when they're down. Like people loved him when he was kind of streaking and became
Hmm.
champion. And then after he had, whatever he had to say about Pereira and how that went.
Right.
And from there, it's easy to just clown people and kick people when they're down. And I think that that's where a lot of I don't know if hate's the right word, but maybe
Yeah. I mean, that's what
misconceptions
everyone
have come
hates.
from.
It's when everyone hates. What is going on with my camera? Why did I get all? There we
You,
go. I was all blurry
what are we
for.
doing?
I don't know. I got all blurry all of a sudden. I don't know what happened. It's easy to hate on people when things are going badly. No one was making fun of him when he was, when he sent Johnny Walker into a different dimension, that he was on
100%.
top of the world. It's when you're at home and you're not doing shit with your own life and you're just clocking in, clocking out at a job that you hate. It's real easy to hate on someone who's daring greatly and chasing something hard in front of the whole world. So when you fail, everyone sees it. It's hard. It really is hard. And so I think he struggled with that for a little bit.
He's not our only guest today because in just a couple of minutes, your training partner, good old Cody Brundage, is going to join us. And I go back to last episode where you were spot on and you said it's going to be a banger between Cody and Julian Marquez. And if the version of Cody that you see so often in the gym shows up, it'll be a quick night. And he got it done in the first round.
A small version of Cody showed up. That's the small version of the dog that's in Cody showed up. He's much more technically sound than that. But it's a start. It's a start. We're getting through whatever wall he has up that's in his head. I think he was able to battle through that a little bit. And like I told you guys, if anything like what happens in practice when those two guys were training together happens, that everyone was going to be in for a treat. And I said, I've seen this 1,000 times, and that's not what it looked like in the gym. It was, well, one of them, that's what it looked like for. It was, and again, I like Julian, so I don't want to talk badly about him, but Julian's not typically a guy that trains well. He shows up in fights, but he's never that guy in the gym for the most part. He was usually on the receiving end of not great things from Cody in the gym. And I think he said that in not so many words. I think he said that fight week too. So I'm not revealing anything here. But yeah, I was happy for Cody and a little bit heartbroken for Julian. It's because I do like Julian. He's a good guy.
We bring in UFC middleweight, very successful over the weekend, Cody Brundage. Cody, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
How do you feel?
I feel good, man. My face hurts. I broke my orbital.
Did you?
So, yep, cracked my orbital. So it's been about
wait
3
till I'm there
weeks.
next week. I'm gonna bust that thing up. I can't wait.
I'm about to wear the old school wrestling mask.
Yeah. Oh man. Man, you were super emotional leading into the fight, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Sometimes I like it a little better when you are a little emotional, when you kind of check in and you're business as usual and super serious and stuff. Sometimes I get worried, but I was okay. I was happy to see you. I don't know, just letting your emotions on your sleeve a little bit and just wearing it and being okay with it.
Yeah, I think like maybe early in my career, I was like, man, if you're emotional, it's gonna not work out for you. And I think maybe there's some people that like if they're emotional, it doesn't work out for them. But for me, it's too much work to try to hide that and then also go compete and go fight. So it's like you just gotta let it rip, man. However I'm feeling, however I'm doing, it's just what it's gotta be, because trying to balance those emotions for everyone else and be like, no, I'm good, and like fight the feelings, it's not a successful endeavor ever. So, and they were asking me like questions, they were trying to make me emotional, bro. They were trying to make me look like a big ass baby. So they got their wish, I guess.
Were you like that in wrestling when you were in college, or did you hide it then?
I was pretty emotional. I mean, I probably hit it more, but I've always been emotional, bro. It's something I love
and that's
to
not
do.
a bad thing. I'm not saying that like it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I don't think you being emotional is a negative.
I think like you know me very well. You know me better than most people, and like you know how much I love fighting and how much I want to be like, how much, and not even just fighting, like how much I love being a part of our team, how much I love being on the journey with you. And I'm very sentimental in that way, that like it means a lot to me that I get to do this and I get to be a part of this. And so, I took a long break. For me, 8 months for me is an eternity. I typically fight 3 times in that time period. So 8 months for me was a super long time, and I wasn't sure that I was going to fight again. So then to come back and have a performance like that, and then just have the week that I had, and I talked to you throughout the week and talked to you afterwards, like it was just different. You could tell it was different. I could tell it was different. It just a different energy, and it was good. I just need to keep that going.
Were you more comfortable or less comfortable being that you were familiar with his style and his game, and you weren't gonna need a feeling out process to get comfortable in there?
Yeah, I don't feel either way about it. You know, I think there were some things that made me uncomfortable. Obviously, like I like Julian. I think he's a good dude. I think he's a good person. So to go and try to separate somebody like that from consciousness is not doesn't make you feel the best about yourself, right? So that makes you uncomfortable. I felt comfortable because I know how our training is gone. I know what I bring to the table, what he brings to the table. But you know, I was also uncomfortable because of that, because everybody that's trained with Julian knows that Julian, the fight night guy, is a different guy than the guy you're training with, and vice versa. Everyone knows that my struggle has been I'm not the guy that I am when I'm training, right? And
Right? You guys are
so I
like
was like,
flipped.
yeah. So it's
Like he
like,
kind of trains like shit, but fights his ass off, and your money and training, and sometimes have a hard time translating that into a fight.
yeah, 100%. And so I knew
I
that
never
that
thought
could be,
about that.
yeah. So that kind of played with my
Yeah,
mind a little bit. But at the end of the day, I just was like, man, it doesn't matter. Like, this is a new story. Like, it really felt like a new start to my career, where it was like all the stuff in the past, all the issues I've had, all the thoughts I've had, they don't matter, because what I'm going to do on this day is what matters. And I just had supreme confidence that I was going to do well. And, you know, I told you after the fight, there were easier ways to beat Julian Marquez than go get in a straight up bar fight,
hmm
uh, slugfest, you know, but to win that way against that guy, I feel good about it. You know, Zach Reese was able to put Julian out, but typically people don't put Julian out like that.
yeah.
It takes a lot to put that guy away, and so to get him put away was good. And you know how it is when you're in the fight. You're like, man, was that super sloppy? Was that bad?
Yeah.
And really, when I went back and watched it, it was like 4 minutes where I felt like I was fighting really, really well, and then 45 seconds of some adversity where he had some big moments. But I was happy with the performance. I felt like 45 or for 4 minutes, it was like pretty much domination.
What do you think that second round would look like?
Bro, coach would have had to give me some good advice, get me off that stool. I'll tell you that. Your boy was
You
tired,
guys
man.
were
I
going to need
remember I
oxygen
was
tanks.
going to hit him, and I look up for 1 second, and coach and Dustin are right in front of me. They're like, go for the choke. I'm like, no, I got to get this guy out of here, because this second round is going to be as exciting as the first round was. The second round was about to be equally as boring. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I was like, man, these guys better get it done in this round, because they just put their foot on the gas and they're not lifting until they see a checkered flag or Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
This is crazy. I'm trying to think how to frame this without being an asshole. What is this bright light syndrome we have going on here? Because first I want to preface this with, I think the best case scenario was how that fight went. Of course, you could
Yeah.
have shot a takedown and passed his guard, looked for some chokes. You're more than capable of doing it. I've seen you do it to him 100 times. But I did find myself really frustrated, because I was like, Cody, what are you doing? Like, that was the game plan. That was not the game plan. Like, a full-on bar fight was not the plan. But then once it was all over with, I was really thinking about it and thought, this is the first time I've ever seen you. Like, in the Dolce fight, you definitely came back from some adversity.
Yeah.
You had a really tough beginning of that fight, and were able to scramble back and fight your way back into it, and find a choke. But I feel like that was with a home run mentality, where
Yeah.
you were in a bit of a panic and just latched onto something and swung for the fences, and it worked. This time I felt was different. You had to systematically fight your way out of the adversity and work your way back into an even spot, and then pull ahead. I think that was the first time I've ever seen you kind of have some adversity, slowly work yourself back even, and then overtake. And I think that that's probably best case scenario for you moving forward. But how come we've had problems doing that previously? Like, have you really, now that you've maybe gotten past it a little bit, and conquered it, I guess is a way of putting it. What was different? Like, what were you seeing before what were you not seeing before that you see now?
Yeah, I think this is gonna sound super lame and people will clown me for it, but it's just fear, man. I think people don't think of fighters as like being afraid or like having fear, because they're like, you fight, that's what you do for a living. But bro, I would go into these fights and I'm terrified. And not because I don't have skills, not because I can't win fights. Like, I've won fights terrified. But I'd go in these fights and you would see me shoot in 20 seconds. You would see me
Mhm.
just kind of get in my own way. And this fight, I was like, man, I don't care. Yeah, could I go take him down and do? I think I could, right? Like, who knows if I would have, but I've done it before, so I thought I could. But I was like, no, I'm standing. I'm gonna have confidence. I'm gonna fight fearless. And so And I made a decision that I was like, man, if I lose this fight, I'm going face down, ass up. I don't care. Like, I will go out of this fight unconscious. I will be waking up saying, what happened? And I've never done that before. I've gone into fights and been like, man, this is gonna hurt. Man, how can I get out of here with the least amount of hurt? As goofy as that sounds, but I've gone into fights and been like, I want to get out of here with the least amount of pain possible, which sounds crazy going into a fight, but it's caused me to make poor decisions and caused me to look at my fight with Rodolfo. I'm dominating the fight and I jump guillotine because I'm like, man, I just want this to be over. I want to be out of here. And for that fight with Julian, I was like, man, I don't care how long this lasts. I'm going to figure out a way to win, or I'm going to lose, but I'm going to lose on my terms. And, people were messaging me. They're like, man, your striking looks so evolved, so much better. I'm like, dude, it looked good, but I'm telling you guys, like, because you train me all the time. Like, I can do that. I have good striking. I have good wrestling. I have good jiu-jitsu. Like, there's not a spot in MMA that I can't compete with really talented people.
I thought that was one of the lower level striking performances I've seen from you. You want my honest opinion?
Yeah,
you know me. I'm gonna be honest with you. You're way better than that. You're way better.
Well, that's what I was trying to tell people. I'm like, no, guys, I could do better than that even. And like, it's like, but I just haven't shown it because of fear, right? And,
what's the first step though? This is the first step though.
Yeah, and it was a lot of work, man. Like in that 8 months, it was a lot of reflection. It was a lot of, do I want to fight? It was a lot of going with other people and just kind of seeing how they handle the adversity and talking to other people and talking to coach and finding some faith and some things like that. And it was a process to be like, hey man, I want to come back and I want to do this. But I told myself before I ever took this fight, I was supposed to fight Ryan Loder. And when I took that fight, before it was even Julian, I told myself, I will not fight again if I'm going to fight scared. Like, I would go into fights, man. Every fight I went into, this is the first fight in the history of Cody Brundage that I went into it and this thought didn't cross my mind. I used to go into every fight and be like, after this fight, I'm going to tell coach, hey man, I'm done fighting. I don't care what the result is. I don't like the way this makes me feel. I want to be done with this. And I didn't have any of those feelings this fight.
You really thought that before every fight?
Before every fight. I hate the way this makes me feel.
This is my retirement fight.
Yeah, I'm going to be done because I don't
like the way this makes me feel. You've never told me that before.
Yeah.
Damn, dog.
So like now it makes sense when you're like, man, why weren't you able to perform? You're like, oh, that makes sense. Of course.
Yeah, he was retiring. Like, yeah, that's crazy. Okay, do you feel like you fight better when your back's against the wall? Do you think it's easier to make those adjustments?
No, because to be honest, when I'm in there, I don't even think about it.
Really?
My brain's off. Like, to be honest. There's some things that you think, I guess, like you have weird thoughts when you fight, but it's all instinct. I'm not like, man, I got to win this fight because if I don't win this fight, I'm done fighting. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, man, I don't want to get my ass beat, so I better beat his ass.
Right. So I don't know if you remember, but my second Ryan Spann fight, I had a really good first round, and then early, like a minute into the second round, he throws this nasty uppercut that I don't see coming. Swells my whole shit up. Couldn't see, was half blind. I'm down. He's on top of me. He's trying to finish. And I remember thinking, man, I could just I heard the referee like, Anthony, you got to move. And he wasn't really hurting me, but I was frazzled. I couldn't see. It was a little bit of a panic. Like, I could feel the swelling in my face. Like, I'm going to be fucking blind. Like, my eyes so fucked, And I remember the referee saying, you got to move. And I remember thinking, I could just not. And he'll help me. Like, he'll help me. It'll stop. If I just don't
save me if I don't move.
Yeah, if I don't move, it'll stop.
Yeah.
And then I remember hearing Coach, it was Scotty and Coach Marco. You got to make a decision. You have to make a decision right now. And I remember that like clicking in my head, like, I can either continue to just turtle up here, try to keep my head safe and maybe ride the round out, or I can get the fuck back up and I can fight my way back into this. And then neither one of those things were something I wanted to do. But then I thought to myself, you ain't fucking beating me down here. You're going to beat me. You're going to have to do it from our feet. Like, you're going to have to knock me all the way out because there's no one jumping in and make this easy for you. So I actually got to my feet with the intention of like, no, I'm just going to get up and swing hard. And he'll probably knock me out, but it can be on my terms. And then I got to my feet. I made that decision that I was going to get to my feet And then I just started realizing, like, damn, I'm still like kind of in this. Like I'm still like I'm working my way back into this round, at least pulling it back to even again. And I only bring that up to bring up when Julian cleared your mouthpiece from your mouth. And sorry, I gotta say it, like that is just funny. But when your mouthpiece goes out and he's kind of swarming you and you're kind of up against the fence, I seen you have that moment where you had to make a decision. Because if you didn't do anything, like you don't have to do anything. If you just don't do anything, it'll stop. Yeah. But like I felt like you were in that moment where you're on the fence and you're trying to decide which direction you want to go. Is that how you felt?
I mean, I looked over. I remember I guess I was saying nothing happens, but when the mouthpiece comes out, I'm on a knee. I like shot to kind of stop the barrage, right? And then I work back up. He kind of puts me in that guillotine it wasn't close, but he was threatening. And I look over and Dustin is like, "You gotta have fucking courage. Courage, courage." I'm like, all right, dude, there's no way I'm quitting on myself right now and having to go look at this dude in the back and be like, well, remember when you told me to have courage? I didn't. So
I decided not to.
Yeah, I decided against it. So there is a little bit of that. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, like, and then once I was back, I was like, all right, man, I'm okay. Like, it was probably like 15 seconds where I got hit, shot in. I still had my legs underneath me. I wasn't like super dazed. I was just like, ow, that hurt. And then I was like, okay, I'm back. I'm back now, and we're in a good spot, and I can hit him way harder than he could hit me. I just had confidence in that. I was like, so if we can do a trade right here, I'm gonna hurt him bad. And then it ended up working out.
All right, so we got through it. You got home, probably super happy to be back home with the girls and and Bobby. Now that you got this fractured orbital, you got an excuse to take some time off, which is probably good for you, I would imagine, a little bit. But what do you want next? Like, what's your next plan?
Shit, bro, you're next.
You know me, bro. I mean, for sure.
For me, I'm gonna fight again. I'm gonna fight probably end of Q3, early Q4. I'm never gonna be a guy that fights 5 times a year like I've done in the past. I think it burnt me out. I think it put me in a spot where I was like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. I wasn't having fun. And that's a tough way to fight, man. It's a tough way to fight when you're not enjoying what you're doing. You're not getting the results you want. And it's constantly not getting the results you want. And you're like, okay, I'll just get out from under this by getting to another one. I think that's not the best mentality. And I don't need to fight 5 times a year. If I had 2 performances a year like I just had last night, I'll be happy with it.
So you don't have a name? There's no one you're like looking at?
There's some guys I hate calling out guys that are booked.
Yeah.
Because I think it's kind of rude. Like, those guys have fights already. I don't want to be like, yo, fight me next, you know. But there's some guys. We've talked. You know who they are because I've told you. But we'll see. They have some fights coming up in April, and the end of this month, and so we'll kind of see how those fights play out and just see what that's looking like, depending on how the results go. But I think I'll be a little more picky too, man. I've always been a guy that says yes to everyone, short notice, whatever. But I think I'll be a little more picky and kind of find some fights where I can continue to just find that confidence, find that courage, and build on that, because this sport is such a momentum sport that you do that a few times and it's like, all right, man, I could do this against anybody.
Right. Totally agree.
But really, I'm pumped, man. You have a big fight coming up. I love being in camp with you. I love being in camp with Dustin. I love getting to travel with you guys and coach and be a part of the team. Like, that really is, like, as much as I love fighting. I love being a coach and a teammate, and like, I find a ton of passion in that, and you know that, and so I'm excited for that too. Like, it's probably good that my face is fractured because I'd be trying to get back in the gym immediately, and I need to take a couple weeks.
And Dustin's got something booked too.
Oh yeah.
So everyone's gonna be getting ready.
Yeah, I know.
One thing you were talking about your passion for the game, and I think one thing that I think you should show more of that probably not a lot of people know. You are a goddamn fight nerd. Like, you're a very, very good analyst. Like, you're really good at breaking down fights and just, you know, just breaking people down kind of position by position. So obviously UFC 313, we have Magomed Ankalaev challenging Alex Pereira for the light heavyweight title. What do you think, just kind of broad stroke on that main event? What do you think that main event looks like?
Well, I think the UFC's smart, right? And I think they gave Ankalaev probably should have been fighting for the belt a year ago, but they've kind of delayed this. And I think the only reason they would delay this is to kind of give Pereira, they're one of their top earners, potentially a chance to close the gap in the grappling. But to close that gap is just, I don't think it's really doable.
Do you think Ankalaev wrestles?
If he's smart, you know. I know he's like, I'll come out and trade, but I have to assume that the number one light heavyweight in the world is going to come out and grapple. He has to be smart enough that he's like, I'm not going to win a kickboxing fight against potentially the greatest kickboxer we've ever seen, you know?
Do you think he can be competitive on his feet?
I think he can be competitive on his feet if he wrestles.
Yeah. With the threat of the takedown.
Yeah.
As a distraction.
If I were him, I'd come out in the first round and just try to ragdoll him, because now you close the speed gap a little bit. Now he's not as willing to kick. Now you make him a little more one-dimensional, and now your striking can be there. Because Ankalaev has good striking. He's fast. He's long. He has good kicks. But if he turns it into a kickboxing fight, he's going to lose. For sure.
Totally agree. Totally. You know? If he's only kickboxing.
But the other thing is, you know, that's interesting to me is you see all these videos, and I don't think Pereira's not training hard, but you see all these videos, and the dude is on the world tour right now, right? He's a superstar. He's going to Drake concerts. He's doing all this stuff. And then you see
That's Ankalaev. Your first mistake. That's your first mistake.
You're hanging out with Drake. Like, dude, you're setting yourself up. But then you see Ankalaev.
That's how you got your title as a middleweight, bro.
Yeah. I'm like, bro, like I would imagine he's locked in, right? But it is an interesting narrative if you pay attention to the social media that he's potentially not training as hard as Ankalaev. And Ankalaev is good, man. You've been in there with him. You know how good he is.
Yeah, he's full mountain man too. He's up there, no internet, no electricity.
He's locked in.
Cattle.
So
yeah, he's locked in, bro. And you can tell. That's what I'm interested for too, is kind of their face-off. Most of the time, face-offs are bullshit. It's for the media. It's for the the people at home.
You don't believe in the witch doctor magic stuff?
No. But sometimes you get in there with a dude, and like you'll face off with him, and you'll go, oh shit, this guy's for real.
Yeah.
Like, or you'll see something that's even scarier sometimes that they don't give a fuck. Like,
yeah, to me that's the worst. I'm like this guy don't give a damn.
He didn't give a shit. He was just like, yeah, whatever. Like, we're gonna fucking throw down. I don't even care. Like, he didn't want to be at the face-off. He was the most uncomfortable face-off I've ever had because he didn't give a shit. He was like, yeah.
Who do you think's gonna win that fight?
I think Pereira, but I think Ankalaev's ego is gonna get in the way. I don't think he'll wrestle.
It's so crazy how he just like puts this spell on people of like, because you got to think everyone he's fought has been like, hey man, you just mix in your grappling a little bit, from Sean Strickland to even these strikers. Like, here's the thing that people don't realize that is mind boggling to me about Pereira. They're like, well, they're setting him up because he's fighting kickboxers. Izzy took him down multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you have to be an Olympic level wrestler to out wrestle Pereira.
Right.
You just have to do it. But nobody does it. No one's willing to even like touch his legs. If you watch his UFC debut, he fought a 170 pounder essentially, who was able to win the first round against him just by putting him against the cage and holding him there.
Right. If I fought Alex Pereira, I would butt scoot from the first bell.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I'm butt scooting. I'm gonna be the most the purest jiu-jitsu guy in the world. Like, I don't think so.
Rolling all the way to him
for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna look like goddamn, what's that guy's name? The jiu-jitsu
Ryan
guy.
Hall.
Ryan Hall. Yeah. I'm gonna look like Ryan Hall the whole time.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, 5 rounds of butt scooting for sure. What do you think about Gaethje and Fiziev? Just with that whole weird,
I think the biggest
situation.
knock on Fiziev is his cardio.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he comes out hot and he always seems to fade, and then you add short notice on that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how. I mean, if he was ready, be good, but I don't think,
I said, well, in Gaethje's at altitude never really gets tired.
Yeah, he's not going to get tired. I will say, in their first matchup, I feel like the speed discrepancy was there, but it wasn't as big in favor of Fiziev. And I think, obviously as you get older, your speed just is nature. You're going to be a little slower. So that could be potentially a problem for Gaethje.
Has it been cool seeing Gaethje come in the gym and just that one day a week, and you feel like you've picked anything up just in his mentality or his approach or his actual skills and abilities?
The biggest thing I picked up, and I've picked it up from you, I've picked it up from Dustin, some of these older guys, you old fuck. Damn. I've picked it up. There's just that you guys, like, you don't ever put too much weight into the results of training.
No, never.
And I think as a young kid or like a younger guy, I'm like, you got to win everything in training if you want to win in the fight. And so like having him here during this and you came out, and that was one thing for me for my own fight going forward, was like I would have a bad week of training or like get my ass beat in sparring. I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter. Like if these guys don't think it matters, then it doesn't. So I'm just going to say it doesn't matter and then not let it affect how I feel about myself the rest of this camp. And he's a key for that.
It's not even about the winning or the losing in that round or whatever specific thing you're talking about. It's your approach, because then you're protecting things.
Right.
Like I don't want to protect anything in the gym because I don't really care if I lose a round or if I get caught in a submission, which never happens, but definitely want to go with you. But like I want to try new things. You know what I mean? I want to try new things. I want to do things that I'm not necessarily comfortable doing. But if I'm too worried about losing the round, I'm going to keep going back to my old shit, the old faithful, the stuff that works every single time.
Yeah.
But if I continue to do that, I'm not getting any better. And it's not really doing anything for you. Like if you and I are going and it's the same round we've been doing for the last however many years, then we're just getting in shape at that point. Like we're not really growing. So like if I'm trying something new, now you got something new to look at, and I'm doing something that's uncomfortable and new and fresh. So I think that's really what it's about. We're just, we've been at it a long time. So we've had years where like, fuck, I didn't get any better this year. And then you try to figure out why.
Yeah. But it's been cool. It's been cool having Gaethje and Corey Sandhagen's been around, and Grant Neal.
So cool to watch.
We've just brought some like good dudes in that are down to scrap, and it kind of gives you that like fight feel where you're like, man, I don't know this guy that well. He don't know me that well. Like, and that's been cool. And you could tell the energy in the gym when those guys are in there is a little different.
For sure.
In a positive way. And it's
When I was there, a few weeks ago with you or whatever, and it was a cool vibe and feel like when all those other guys from the other teams were there. I was like, man, this is it's a little more intense.
Yeah.
Like a good
it feels
intense.
Like it feels like the old school like dojo storming.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah. All right, bro. I'm gonna let you get back to what you're doing. Make sure you tell the family I said hello.
Hell yeah.
And I'll see you next week, man. Thanks for coming on, hanging out with me for a minute.
Yeah, brother. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
All right, man. You take care.
We do need to get to split decision. We've got a big pay-per-view weekend this weekend. Before we have you make your UFC 313 picks, I do want to address last week. It was a little rough. You guys, the fighters, you, Gilbert, and Hanato, pulled out the win. Very slim margin of victory. The casuals, our fellow handicappers, only got 6 fights right. And you guys only got 7. Gilbert
we didn't
only got 1 fight, right?
Gilbert got 1.
Gilbert got 1. It wasn't his best week. And you and Moicano each got 3 right. I will say you picked Hyder Emil. You were the only one between the 6 of you to pick Hyder Emil.
What'd I tell you guys?
That's what I tell you guys. Picked up the win.
Yeah, what'd I tell you guys? Hyder Emil is must-see TV. Was that not a fight that you would go back and just, if you were to have a person that never watched MMA before, that's a fight you could put on a list. Like, hey, go watch this. You're going to really enjoy it. Like, that's a fight. That's a fight that you can get down with.
100%.
And I don't know if he's built for longevity, but he's going to be fun while we got him.
Usually the fighters we love the most aren't built for longevity.
No, he can't fight like that until he's an old man. That doesn't work. Doesn't work like that.
That brings us to this week, UFC 313. We're going to have you run through the main card. Hopefully it's a better week for everybody all around.
Oh, I think I'm going to get all these right, probably.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I like the confidence. You're back.
I'm back. UFC 313. The main card kicks off with the artist formerly known as Bobby Green, King Green, versus Mauricio Rufy. It's a really tough fight for Bobby, if we're just being honest here. That's met with absolute zero disrespect. I do think that Bobby gets it done because I think he shows up in these big moments when maybe people are counting him out a little bit. Rufy's on a hell of a run right now, and he's got a really, really fun style. I think that the matchmakers know what they're doing when they put this fight as the pay-per-view opener. 2 really dynamic, super fast, fun strikers. And I'm always going to ride with Bobby Green. So if it was Bobby Green versus Brock Lesnar and Alex Pereira, I'm picking Bobby Green. King Green.
You're insane.
Sorry.
I was going to say, let's get it right.
Sorry,
It's King.
Sorry. Next up, we have Amanda Lemos versus Yasmin Lucindo. I believe Amanda Lemos is coming off of a loss. Amanda Lemos is always in it. She's always going to be super competitive with anybody. I just think that Lucindo is kind of on a run right now. And I've liked what I've seen from her recently. So I'm going to go with Yasmin Lucindo. Jalen Turner versus Ignacio Bahamondes. That's a really, really good fight. That's a sneaky good fight. I am going to go with Bahamondes. It's really just comes down to age and miles. He's just got a little less miles on him. Jalen Turner's been in a couple real tough ones recently, and he's been a bit up and down. And then co-main event, no surprise, I'm going Justin Gaethje with a win over Rafael Fiziev. I would dig deeper into that. Maybe if Rafael was coming in from a full camp. I do think at times he does have some conditioning issues, which would give me worry in picking him in a Justin Gaethje fight. He's not typically a big one-punch finisher. Gaethje's kind of a guy, if you beat him, you're going to have to finish him probably. And then main event, Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. I just believe Ankalaev when he says he's not gonna wrestle. So if that's the case, I struggle to find any striker at light heavyweight or heavyweight that would stand in front of Alex Pereira for 25 minutes and make it out awake. So I am going with Alex Pereira.
Just a little side note, Justin Gaethje, a live dog right now.
Really?
Plus 130 to Fiziev's minus
plus 130 where?
DraftKings.
Man, listen, if you're listening to this right now, I would head on over to DraftKings and I would throw a little bit of cheddar.
I bet Justin the house Gaethje. And your family members on this man.
Maybe not your family members. I feel like
but maybe
somewhere DraftKings has a disclaimer in there that says that is illegal.
Well, listen, he wants to get back in the win column. He wants a title shot. Bet the goddamn house on the highlight. It's going to be a good one either way.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a good card. Maybe next week we can get into some more of those questions. Yes. I had a lot of fun doing that.
We keep stacking these shows with 2 guests. Then we've got fights to get to. We've got fights to recap. We've got a lot going on.
Right. And for those of anyone who's still here and still listening to us ramble, sorry about this episode coming out a day later. Just with scheduling the kids and things like that, we had to bump it. So head on over to our YouTube channel, On Paper Podcast, and subscribe. It's really easy for you guys and really helps us out a lot. So appreciate you guys. Kelly, as always, it was a pleasure. I had a great time. You guys enjoy the fights, and we'll see you next week. We partner with HomoFight Picks to get you the most accurate and well-researched fight predictions. They do all the legwork so you can focus on winning. Picks will be sent directly to your phone via text or email. It's totally up to you. The second we upload them. Use code Lionheart to get 7 free days at winnable.com/HOF picks. That's WINIBLE.com/HOF picks.